We've all encountered them, right? Leaders who lead simply because of the title on their door, some inspiring others, well, less so.
Uh-huh. And then you have those people, maybe with no formal role at all, who just have this pull, and you find yourself wanting to follow their lead.
Exactly. So let's dig into that difference. Today, we're doing a deep dive into John C. Maxwell's The 5 Levels of Leadership. Now, this is a framework he put together meticulously over like 5 years, observing leadership in the real world.
Yeah, and it's not just, academic theory. This stuff is in high demand. Military academies, Fortune 500 companies, they all use this model.
So what's the core idea?
Well, Maxwell was wrestling with this fundamental question, what is leadership, really? Because the common definitions, like just having a job title, they often felt incomplete.
Right. We've all seen people in charge who aren't effective and people with huge influence who have no official power.
Precisely. So his big insight, the bedrock really, is that leadership boils down to influence. Nothing more, nothing less. The better you are at influencing others, the stronger your leadership.
And these 5 levels, that's his map for how influence grows.
That's it, exactly. It maps the journey.
Okay, so for you listening, our goal today is pretty straightforward. Give you a clear, quick, but thorough look at these 5 levels. Think of it like a guide to understanding how leadership influence works.
And hopefully a practical roadmap for becoming a more effective leader yourself, no matter where you're starting from.
Right, regardless of title or technical skills. So we'll cover level 1, position.
Level 2, permission.
Level 3, production.
Level 4, people development.
And finally, level 5, the pinnacle. Ready to explore how to boost your influence.
Let's start at the beginning. Level 1, position. Maxwell calls this the entry level.
Okay, so influence here comes purely from the job title.
Almost entirely, yeah. People follow instructions, they do what they're told, essentially because they feel they have to. Your authority comes from the org chart.
So you get subordinates, but not necessarily
Yeah.
followers, not in the true sense.
Exactly. You haven't earned their willingness yet.
And this level leans heavily on what? Rules, policies.
Uh-huh. Rules, regulations, policies, the organizational structure. That's the toolkit for control here. You don't really have a team in the committed sense.
More like a group of individuals who report to you.
Right. And the effort you get is often, let's say, the minimum requirement. Barely more.
Discretionary effort, forget about it. Asking for that extra mile feels like pulling teeth.
It really does. The core idea is positional leadership gets compliance, but it rarely inspires commitment.
So having the position itself isn't bad, but relying only on it, that's the issue.
That's the critical weakness, yes. You might be the boss, but you're not necessarily a leader in the way Maxwell means it. Positional folks often focus more on their rights than their responsibilities.
Maxwell talks about his own experience, right, as a young pastor.
Oh yeah, classic story. He walks into his first board meeting, title in hand, assuming he's the leader.
But he wasn't.
Not really. He quickly figured out the real influence belonged to Claude, this long-time respected member. Claude had the relationships, the trust.
So Maxwell had the position, but Claude had the Mary, the actual leadership capital, a perfect example of title not equaling influence.
Absolutely perfect. And these positional leaders, they often operate out of a need for control. Sometimes they even feel threatened by talented people on their team.
Which can create a pretty negative vibe, right? Stifling.
Definitely. Talented people often won't stick around in that kind of environment. You get this us versus them feeling, and the leader can end up feeling isolated, even though they're technically at the top.
And what's it like for the people being led by a purely positional leader?
Maxwell paints a picture of clock watchers. People who are physically there but mentally checked out, just counting down the minutes until they can leave.
He mentions the Gallup polls too, doesn't he? The cost of disengagement.
Huge costs, millions, billions even. When people are just showing up, not bringing their creativity or initiative, that's a massive drain. And it often stems from leadership that relies only on position.
There's that funny story about Christian Herter too, the governor.
Huh, yes. Trying to get a second piece of chicken at a church barbecue?
And the woman serving just wasn't having it, despite his title.
Nope. One piece per person, governor or not. It just shows your title doesn't automatically get you what you want, even something simple. People need a better reason to follow or help you out.
So, as you're listening, maybe think about times you've seen this. Leadership based purely on the title. It's common, but it's definitely limited. How do we move beyond it?
The shift is fundamental. It's about moving your focus from control to contribution.
Okay.
Realizing that people are your most valuable asset, not just cogs in a machine. Understanding you don't have to have all the answers, involving others, is key.
And the biggest shift.
Moving from relying on rules to actually building relationships. That's the bridge. That's what gets you to level 2, permission.
Where people follow because they want to.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
key insight. Genuine leadership begins when you start genuinely valuing people.
Okay, so level 1 is have to. Level 2 is want to. Permission. This feels like a big step up. It's about connection.
It's a massive shift. The core here is genuinely liking people, valuing them as individuals, not just job descriptions. It's like J. Donald Walter said, leadership is an opportunity to serve.
So permissional leaders, they invest in their people, create a good atmosphere.
Definitely. They care about the team's well-being, their success. They work to make the environment positive, supportive. And that foundation of trust and care, that's what unlocks people's willingness to give their best. Discretionary effort starts here.
Maxwell admits he struggled with this early on, didn't he? Too focused on himself.
He's very open about that. Realizing he needed to genuinely value others was a turning point for him.
And Nelson Mandela comes up as a prime example here.
A powerful one. His humility, the way he valued every single person he met, regardless of their status.
Like that story with the businessman Peter invited for breakfast.
Yes, Mandela didn't make it about himself. He made Peter feel important, seen, valued. That's pure level 2. It wasn't about his presidential status. It was genuine regard.
And trust is the currency at this level, right?
Absolutely fundamental. It's not about trying to impress people. It's about authentic connection.
Like that colonel pretending to be on the phone with Schwarzkopf.
Exactly. That's trying to impress, not build trust. Fake importance. Real influence comes from people knowing they can rely on you, that you're genuinely invested. Like Admiral Stockdale said, in a crisis, people stick with those they trust.
So is it all smooth sailing at level 2? Are there downsides to leading through permission?
Well, potential challenges, yes. In really high-pressure, results-driven places, some might see this relational style as maybe soft.
Impatient high achievers might get frustrated.
They might. They want results now, and relationship building takes time. There's also a risk, that the relationships become everything, and you lose sight of the actual goals.
So finding that balance is key. You can't just be buddies and hope the work gets done.
Exactly. Balance is crucial.
So what does a leader need to do internally to build these permission-based relationships effectively?
It really starts with self-awareness and a commitment to your own growth. Jack Parr's quote is great. My life seems like one big obstacle race, with me being the chief obstacle.
Yeah. Look inward first.
Right. And Samuel Johnson's point about changing ourselves rather than just our circumstances. Herb Kelleher at Southwest got this leadership. It's about understanding people, their hopes, their motivations. The soul, not just the systems.
So leading others well starts with leading yourself well.
That's the core insight. Absolutely.
And the golden rule seems pretty central here too.
Treat others as you want to be treated. Maxwell shows how universal that is across cultures, religions. It builds that foundation of mutual respect.
And encouragement. How important is that?
Hugely important. Think about C.S. Lewis encouraging Tolkien with Lord of the Rings. Imagine if he hadn't. Mother Teresa said, kind words, their echoes are endless. Your positive words as a leader can have such a lasting effect.
Okay, but relationships aren't always easy. What about tough conversations? Giving feedback? How do you do that without damaging the permission you've built?
It's that tricky balance again. Care and candor.
Care and candor. Explain that.
Well, if you have care without candor, you end up with maybe nice but dysfunctional relationships where tough truths are avoided. People don't grow.
Okay. And the opposite.
Candor without care. That can create distance, resentment. People feel attacked, not supported.
So you need both. Honesty delivered with genuine concern for the person's growth.
Exactly. Maxwell tells a story about a leader named Cheryl, strong on results but weak on relationships. Caring but direct feedback helped her grow immensely.
And it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Leaders need to be able to receive feedback too.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a one-way street. Permissional leaders have to be open to hearing criticism. Warren Bennis said great leaders actually reward dissent because it leads to better thinking.
So summing up level 2, it's about connection.
It's about connecting authentically, identifying with people, relating to them, building that trust. That's how you earn their permission to lead them. Because, as the law of buy-in says,
People buy into the leader, then the vision.
you got it.
Okay, level 2, people follow because they want to. But wanting to isn't always enough to get big things done right. Enter level 3, production.
Now we're talking results. Maxwell says this is where leadership really kicks into high gear. It separates the real leaders from the ones just holding a position.
It's about making things happen, getting tangible results.
Exactly. Level 3 leaders aren't just productive themselves, they get their teams producing. And that track record, that builds serious confidence, credibility, and influence.
And you can't really fake this level, can you?
Not for long. Either you're delivering or you're not. The results speak for themselves. Remember what IBM's Thomas Watson said about leaders setting their own quotas and smashing them? That's level 3 thinking.
And this kind of success tends to attract more success, right? Productive people want to be around other productive people.
Absolutely. It creates this positive cycle. Good people want to join winning teams led by credible leaders. It drives growth for the whole organization.
So getting a position might be one thing, building relationships another, but getting to level 3 requires what? Different skills.
Definitely. You need discipline, a strong work ethic, good organization, and obviously the actual skills needed to get results in your specific field. If you want to climb higher, consistent production is non-negotiable.
I love that story about Epaminondas, the
Yeah.
Greek general.
Oh, the garbage collection duty.
Yeah. His enemies try to humiliate him with this low-status job.
And he just accepts it with dignity and says he'll bring glory to the work. That's production mindset, excellence in whatever you do.
Maxwell saw this in his own journey, too, in Hillam.
Yeah, he talks about how delivering results there, exceeding expectations, built his credibility and opened up bigger opportunities later. You have to master these lower levels first.
And the salesman, Gooch, the one who couldn't spell.
Yes. Terrible spelling, but his sales numbers were off the charts.
And the president valued the results over the grammar?
Totally. He even used Gooch's letters as an example. Maybe not for the spelling, but for the effectiveness. It just shows how much results matter.
So being productive can even compensate sometimes for maybe less than perfect people skills.
In some extent, yes. Influence can definitely come from sheer competence and results. But Maxwell warns us here, right?
About promoting top performers into leadership automatically.
Exactly. Just because someone is a star producer doesn't mean they want to or know how to lead others. It's a different skill set.
Like Ted Williams, the baseball player. Amazing hitter, but maybe not the best hitting coach.
Right. He couldn't necessarily transfer his innate genius to others effectively. Great player, different skills needed for coaching.
So what defines leaders who really nail level 3?
They lead by example, for starters. Their own work ethic sets the pace. Lincoln believed leaders needed to be among their people, showing the way.
And production makes the vision real, doesn't it?
Totally. Talk is cheap. When people see results, see goals being met, the vision becomes tangible, believable. They buy in more deeply. Remember Washington helping lift that beam. Actions speak louder.
And achieving things feels good, right? Boosts morale.
Absolutely. Thomas Carlyle. Nothing builds self-esteem and self-confidence like accomplishment. Productivity fuels motivation, builds team spirit. While morale and production influence each other, consistent results are usually the foundation for lasting high morale.
You mentioned General Winder before. A lack of production leading to disaster.
Yeah, War of 1812 shows how poor leadership, a lack of results, can undermine everything, even if morale started okay.
And momentum. Maxwell calls it the great exaggerator.
He does. When you have it, everything feels easier. Problems shrink, success breeds success. Without it, even small tasks feel like pushing a boulder uphill.
And he talks about momentum takers, stoppers, and makers.
Yep. Takers just ride the wave. Stoppers kill the momentum. Makers create it. Level 3 leaders are momentum makers. And in this context, morale is basically faith in the leader's ability to keep that momentum going.
So if someone wants to get better at level 3, what should they focus on?
Lead by example, first and foremost. Cast a clear vision. Develop your people into a real team. Make good decisions. Prioritize effectively the Pareto principle, focusing on the vital few. Be a change agent. And never, ever lose sight of results.
And some specific laws of leadership pop up here.
For sure. The law of the big mo, momentum. The law of sacrifice, sometimes you have to give things up to go up. And the law of buy-in is reinforce results, make people believe.
And it often means making tough calls.
It does. Leadership isn't always comfortable. Like Mark Twain joked, teaching others to do right sounds easier than doing it yourself. But leading effectively often requires those hard decisions.
So if level 2 is about liking people, level 3 is about
valuing what people can do, focusing on their contribution and achieving results together.
Okay, consistently getting results builds massive credibility at level 3. But the truly great leaders go further, right? Level 4, people development.
This is where the magic of multiplication happens. The focus shifts dramatically from your own production, or even your team's production, to intentionally growing other people into leaders.
So you move from producer to developer.
Exactly. And the key insight here is huge. Developing others multiplies your impact exponentially and builds a lasting legacy. You're not just leading followers, you're creating more leaders.
And who are the candidates for development? Just high flyers.
No, Maxwell argues that every person is a potential candidate. You look for potential everywhere, regardless of title or current role. Developing even one person can spark a chain reaction.
Ben Blanchard at Synovus said developing people was more valued than money.
He did. He saw it as the most important benefit they offered, and he looked for that key trait. And openness and eagerness to learn. That's a huge indicator of growth potential.
This feels like a big leap from just getting results.
It is. It requires a different mindset. Level 4 leaders intentionally invest time, energy, resources into mentoring, coaching, empowering others. It's about seeing people as the organization's most appreciable asset.
And Maxwell realized his own earlier successes weren't sustainable because he hadn't done this.
Right. He achieved things, but when he left, the momentum often faded because he hadn't built leaders to carry it forward. It's a critical lesson.
So leaders who don't develop others can actually limit their team's potential. Become a lid.
Precisely. They cap the organization's growth. People development isn't just delegating tasks. It's sharing responsibility, giving authority, guiding growth. It's transformation.
Like John Quincy Adams said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader.
That captures it perfectly. Empowering people is key.
Does the leader's own mindset change here? Maybe less focus on being perfect themselves.
Yes, often a shift from perfectionist to pragmatist. The deepest satisfaction starts coming from seeing others succeed and grow, not just from your own wins.
Like that teacher realizing he taught children, not just math.
Exactly. Or Howard Schultz at Starbucks talking about the meaning found in joint achievements. Maxwell loves sharing stories of people he mentored, the Coles, the Hoyts, the Wetzels, the Eggers, and the incredible things they went on to do. That's the real reward at level 4.
Ziglar's famous line fits here too.
If you will help others get what they want, they will help you get what you want. It's about investing in others' success.
Are there pitfalls here? What stops leaders from developing others?
The big one is insecurity. Feeling threatened if someone you develop might actually surpass you.
Wayne Schmidt's quote about personal competency not compensating for insecurity.
Right. Maxwell breaks it down.
Yeah.
Insecurity about ego, needing to be the best. Security, fear of being replaced. Or control, not wanting to let go.
So you have to overcome that.
You do. Level 4 leaders see success collectively. They trust their people. They empower them. They realize the choice isn't if they'll be replaced, but by whom. Will it be someone you developed or someone else because you failed to develop anyone?
So practically, how do you develop leaders? What's the process?
Maxwell gives a 7-step framework. It starts with seeing the potential, then saving them, putting their growth first, showing them how, through modeling, growing them with resources and opportunities, equipping them with skills, empowering them with autonomy, and finally measuring their progress and independence.
And he has those 4 C's for spotting potential.
Chemistry, do you connect well? Character, are they trustworthy? Capacity, can they grow? Contribution, do they add value? It helps focus development efforts.
And putting the right people in the right spots, like Red Auerbach building his teams.
Exactly. Strategic placement is key for growth. And remember, level 4 doesn't replace levels 2 and 3. You still need strong relationships and you still need to model effective behavior.
Right. It builds on the previous levels.
Absolutely. Empowerment requires trust and accountability. Measuring progress shows if your development efforts are actually working.
What about the laws of leadership here?
The law of the lid is huge. Your leadership ability determines your organization's effectiveness. The law of empowerment, secure leaders give power away. And critically, the law of reproduction, it takes a leader to raise up a leader.
And the Pareto principle again, focusing on the top 20%.
For development efforts, yes. Invest most heavily where you see the greatest potential for leadership growth. The goal is to build a true leadership culture, not just develop a few individuals.
So level 4 is really about intentional investment in people's potential.
Helping them see it and grow into it, multiplying leadership.
Okay, we've climbed high. Position, permission, production, people development. Now, the very top. Level 5, the pinnacle. This sounds rare.
It is the highest and rarest level. It's the culmination of leading well, consistently across all the other levels for a long time. It often requires a high degree of natural gifting alongside highly developed skills.
And the key difference here, they develop level 4 leaders.
Exactly. Pinnacle leaders reproduce themselves by developing leaders who are themselves excellent at developing others. They create a legacy of leadership that extends far beyond them.
And it usually comes later in a career.
Typically, yes. And Maxwell stresses it's not a place to retire or rest. It's a platform for reproducing leadership on the largest scale, creating impact beyond just their own organization or lifetime.
What are the big payoffs for reaching the pinnacle?
Three main things. First, you can create a level 5 organization, one that functions at an incredibly high level because it's filled with strong leaders. Second, your influence spreads way beyond your direct reach and time. Third, there's immense personal satisfaction in seeing the leaders you develop flourish and develop others in turn.
Sounds amazing. Any downsides? Any unique dangers at the very top?
The biggest temptation is probably ego, starting to believe your own hype, thinking it's all about you.
But the journey through the other levels should help with that.
It should build maturity and self-awareness, yes, but falls from this height can be dramatic if leaders lose their grounding. The focus has to stay on others. Like Fred Mansky said, develop people so they can surpass you.
So developing people remains key, but maybe with a longer view.
Absolutely. Focusing on strengths, seeing potential others miss, recognizing that it really takes a level 5 leader to fully develop a level 4 leader. The best potential leaders will actively seek out mentors who are ahead of them.
Like Jack Welch finding his successor at GE from the long shot list. Mentorship matters.
Critically important. And at this level, maintaining humility is vital.
The law of the inner circle. Having people who keep you grounded.
Essential. You need people who will tell you the truth, challenge you, and succession planning becomes absolutely paramount.
Peter Drucker's question, who is going to replace you?
It has to be top of mind. Planning for your exit, ensuring the legacy continues, knowing when it's time to step aside so others can step up. It's about creating that lasting positive impact. Billy Graham talked about life being brief. Pinnacle leaders think about what they're building that will last.
Which laws are most prominent at level 5?
The law of intuition, that deep, experience-based understanding leaders develop. The law of timing, knowing when to lead, is as crucial as what to do. And the law of legacy or lasting value is measured by succession. Plus, the law of explosive growth leading leaders multiplies everything.
And Maxwell talks about creating crucible moments.
Yes, those intense, challenging experiences that forge leadership. Pinnacle leaders might intentionally create or leverage these moments, tough assignments, navigating crises to accelerate the growth of high-potential leaders they're mentoring, giving them chances to learn under pressure with guidance.
So what's the final advice for someone operating at the pinnacle?
Stay humble, stay teachable, share your own lessons, especially from tough times. Connect emerging leaders with other positive influences. Use unexpected challenges as growth opportunities. Plan succession, plan your legacy, and ultimately use your platform for a purpose bigger than yourself.
And the example he uses to embody all this is Coach John Wooden.
A perfect example. His philosophy, make each day your masterpiece. Focus on becoming better people, that's level 2 care. His ability to develop talent, year after year, that's level 4 development. And his incredible lasting legacy, the respect he commanded, the leaders he produced on and off the court, that's pure level 5 pinnacle. His values, relationships, focus on others' success. It all points to the highest level of influence.
So wrapping this up, the big picture is leadership is influence. And it grows step by step through these 5 levels.
And the key thing for everyone listening is that this isn't passive. You can actively work on moving up these levels. It takes intention, growth, experience. You build on each level. You don't leave it behind.
Right. Every step you take, even small ones, to build relationships, get results, develop others. It all adds up to being a more effective leader and having a bigger positive impact.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to consider. Based on everything we've discussed, where do you see yourself right now on these 5 levels? Which one resonates most with your current situation?
And more importantly, what's one concrete action, just one thing you could do starting today or this week to intentionally practice the principles of the next level? Maybe it's investing more deliberately in a relationship or focusing more sharply on team results or identifying someone you could start mentoring.
That intentional step is how the journey progresses.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us into the 5 levels of leadership. We hope this framework gives you some valuable tools for your own leadership path.